You don't go see an insurance agent. That's done all online. All your music, most of our communications, we don't write letters. We don't keep information in physical form. We don't deal in cash. We're getting to the point where we don't even deal in credit cards. What I want to talk about today is this idea of Bitcoin as a reserve currency. So let's go through this. Right now, the US dollar is the reserve currency. It has been that way for decades. And quite frankly, the US dollar will be the reserve currency for many decades to come. The established system is not going away overnight. You are not going to see the total economic crash and burn forever that the gold bugs have been talking about for 30 years and the Bitcoin maximalists have been talking about for 12 years. That's not going to happen. People look at the debt level and say it's unsustainable. Look at the 29 trillion or whatever the hell it is that the US government is in debt. That is going to collapse. No, it's a fictitious number. It doesn't matter. They're not going to pay it back and they're not going to default on it. It will not be paid off. They will keep rolling it. They will keep adding more. They will keep Ponzi scheming it. They will keep printing more money to sustain the debt. The problem is, they can create the debt out of thin air. That's not a problem. And they can create more debt to pay off the previous debt. What becomes a problem is the cost of servicing the debt. That increases as more debt's out there. So even though they don't pay back the principal, they will keep servicing the debt. That's how they will prevent defaults, is to service the debt. So there is a thirst for dollars, because if you want to do any shopping internationally as a country, you need dollars. You cannot get oil without dollars. You cannot get anything off the international commodities market without dollars. Most of your transactions, even between countries, are in US dollars. So that is where the United States has an advantage. So everybody says, well, why won't we just get Bitcoin to serve that purpose? Because by the time the US dollar is to the point where the economic contraction is such that there's so little left done in fiat, there's going to be no point to have a reserve currency. Well, this is where the idea of this expanded digital spatial internet metaverse Web3 on steroids type of mindset comes in. And if you look at how much has transferred in the last 25 years from the physical to the digital, it's not that hard to see where we're going over the next 40 years. So by the early 2060s, you are going to be light years ahead of where we are today. And people say, well, that's not really true because we're in this physical world. Yes, we are. But look at what is no longer physical. You don't go see an insurance agent. That's done all online. All your music, most of our communications, we don't write letters. We don't keep information in physical form. We don't deal in cash. We're getting to the point where we don't even deal in credit cards. You have the entire financial sector is online. Much of our shopping is done online. And once we get into holograms or VR or things of that nature, our shopping malls, our stores are going to be holographic images. There is going to be no reason to have a physical store. There is no doubt that Bitcoin has a huge place in the future, in my opinion. I wouldn't be surprised if it is for the next 100 years, the go-to store of value asset. I wouldn't be surprised if it is the value that stands behind a lot of debt. Stands behind, it's collateralized, but it's not used as the currency. Well, what happens when we move past the smartphone to whatever we move to at that time, whatever that is? And this is the world we're heading towards. So the idea of needing all of this retail real estate, the idea of needing all this office real estate, we're already seeing how that's a bygone idea. So the reason why I went off on this tangent is to show you how much things are going to be changing. And so this idea of a reserve currency is using today's economic model, today's political model, today's governance model, and projecting it into the future, which I don't think is a smart thing to do. Because the rest of this decade, the next 78 plus years, are going to be massive changes.